Well, is Arizona basketball actually primed for an early exit after the recent defensive struggles we have seen? Are you buying or selling Arizona as a national championship contender? We're going to talk about that and more on the AZ Wildcats podcast in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Damon Farrell, with my guy, Kevin Thomas. Of course, back behind the Mac, where you belong. I'm just kidding.
I do feel comfortable back here, though.
Yeah, it's like a second home, Kevin. But, you know, obviously this is, it's a Victory Wednesday here on the AZ Wildcats podcast, but kind of doesn't feel like it, right? Am I crazy in feeling that way, Kevin? Like, I'm kind of getting vibes of like, man, that was kind of disappointing last night.
I'm also kind of getting vibes of like, man, I'm tired, Damon. Like, man, you and I were talking about it. We didn't go to bed till 3 a.m. last night, folks. A little insider baseball for you there.
Extra shot in this guy today, Kevin.
Yeah, I actually had a double shot in mine. So, yeah, we're both on the same wavelength there, Damon, because Arizona really made us stay up late last night. It wasn't their fault. 9 p.m. tip. Delayed to 9:10, and then the refs obviously had to call every single foul by the book as they saw it. So we were all up late. Thank you for those who did join us on our post-game show last night and for the watch-along. It was a lot of fun. But like Damon said, it doesn't really feel like a Victory Wednesday, even though this definitely is a Victory Wednesday. And we actually have a couple days to enjoy this Victory Wednesday because Arizona basketball's next game is not for another 3 days, Damon. So it's honestly, it should be a great feeling, but I think it's just a good feeling today.
Yeah, usually, you know, you beat Arizona State in a sport and it feels a little bit better. I know the basketball is slightly different, but, you know, I think it's almost, and we were talking to our guy Zach over here, who works on the sales team. He was at the game last night in Tempe. He's an ASU, or in Tucson. He's an ASU guy. Made the trip down.
Real quick, Damon.
Yeah.
Is there a worse combination of human being than ASU Washington guy?
No.
Like,
I'll cut you off before you finish this.
Love my
the
guy
question.
Zach. He's a good dude.
He is a good dude.
Heart's in the right
but not
place.
Without flaws.
But his allegiances are so just sour, rotten to the core.
I'm sure that Jedfish news was like that hit like nothing in life. Just given the fact that Jedfish looked like he was building something pretty special at Arizona, you take that away, you get a coach in the process. Like that probably was unbelievable. But then it went right out the window on that halfback toss there. Earlier this season. Who was that against?
Wazoo.
Against Washington State. That's right.
Couldn't be a worse team to have it against.
And Washington State wins the Super Bowl with that play. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's right. Speed option. We had the toss play versus USC. But getting back to the main point there, I was just going to say that off air, Zach was telling us that that game actually made him proud to be an ASU fan, just given the circumstances, right? They played a 6-man rotation. They're down with probably their three most, not talented, but three best players, because I think Sanon belongs in the talented conversation, but I don't think he's quite there in that top 3 hierarchy yet for that team. So, you know, you're down your three best players and you have a 6-man rotation. You put up 100 points on the road against a team that's a top 20 defense in the country. I think that if you're an ASU fan, you should be happy with that result. Be proud of the guys. And then conversely, as Arizona fans, we're sitting here disappointed because that should have been a much bigger win than what it was last night.
Yeah, Damon. And when you kind of talk to what Zach was talking about pre-show, I think that, yeah, he did raise some really good points about that because the fight that Arizona State showed last night was really admirable, but also on the other side of the coin, the general level of play of Arizona last night was not up to the par that we expect them to be at this season. Now, they did win the game by double digits. They did have some really, really great signs in that game, like Henri Veesaar balling out, Tobe Awaka balling out, KJ Lewis having another good game this season, kind of hopefully building some momentum for him offensively heading into the tournament, right? But overall, just the level of defense in that game. I mean, you posted it from our beat account very, very wisely. The guy kind of just randomly patting people down as they enter. He's supposed to be security, but it's not really security. Yeah, move along. Yep, you're good. Move along. Like, that was kind of Arizona's defense last night. And we talked about it on the post-game show. We're going to talk about it a lot today. But Arizona has been able to hang its hat on its defense all year long. It's been able to rely on hey, we might not be able to score for 5 straight minutes, but we're also going to hold our opponent scoreless for 4. You know what I mean? And I think that is kind of where Arizona's at right now, where you're seeing a version of Arizona that's worse than the version they were a month ago, Damon.
Which has been typical, Kevin, of Arizona basketball teams throughout my entire life, right? Like, they always peak at the wrong time. And I think you're looking currently at a team that's, even despite the win last night, you mentioned it with the, kind of the red and green stripes here while you were looking at it on KenPom, but you've lost 4 of your last 7 basketball games.
Yeah, bro. I mean, the KenPom right now looks like tinsel on a Christmas tree, Damon. It just looks like red, just striping around all the green. For a while, Arizona was on a nice win streak, really building momentum. We talked about it on the podcast.
You only lost to Texas Tech in a stretch of
14 games.
Yep.
Yeah, I pulled some stats this morning. I can talk about them now, but like, Arizona trending in the wrong direction heading into the tournament. A couple weeks ago was like, oh, this Arizona team rounding out into their best form of play at the perfect time. This is incredible. This is exactly what you want to see. But statistically, it has been the opposite, and we're starting to see the fruits of that, the rotten fruits of that on the court as well. I want to share.
I think, real quick, I just want to say, I think what's so difficult about that too is that you look at like how this is played out, right? And if you win that Houston game like you should have, and you win that BYU game like they easily could have, I'm not going to say that they should have won that game like the Houston game, because I think that Houston game you controlled throughout. The BYU game was very back and forth. I think either team deserved that one. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
Houston, like, you let that slip. You had about a 7-point lead in a game that ended up scoring 120 total points. So a very low scoring game. 7 points, a big lead in a game like that, and you let it slip out of your hands late. If they win that Houston game, they win that BYU game. We feel completely different about this team, Kevin. We feel so much different about this team, right? Because then all of a sudden you're talking about, in the last 7 games, you're 5-2 with wins over BYU and Houston, who are ranked teams. Houston being, a one-line type of team. And the loss being against Iowa State on the road and against Kansas State on the road. And you can live with those losses. So it's just unfortunate that we're here in this spot where we're feeling like this team is not peaking at the right time. But they were so close to being in a place where we would feel phenomenal about how this season has played out, how this season is ending. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it really could have gone either way, flip of a coin, but unfortunately we're on the negative side of things right now.
And look, I love how you laid that out, because I kind of referenced it a second ago with these statistics, and I probably should have threw this on a graphic for the folks on the video side, and I do apologize for that. But bear with me on this one, because Arizona, from the stretch of Samford to Texas Tech, which is 14 games, they were 13-1, right? They shot 48% from the field, 34.5% from 3. That's 7 for 22 from 3 on average. They also shot 56.1% on their twos, had 13 stocks per game, and 11 turnovers per game, right? Now, their opponents over that same stretch shot about 40% from the field, 31% from 3 with 11 turnovers. Okay, Damon? Now, in this recent stretch that we were just talking about, from KSU to ASU, from Kansas State to Arizona State, Arizona is currently 3-4, which is, I know it's a larger sample size of 14 games down to 7, but, I mean, we're not really splitting hairs. They're under 500 in their last 7 games, Damon. Nowhere near the win percentage of the most recent stretch. But I also want to add that their stats have gotten worse. They're shooting 45% from the field, a 3% decrease there, 28% from 3 over the 7-game stretch, which is, I mean, no one's going to eat shooting 28% anywhere ever. That is what, like a 6% decrease, I believe, from 3-point percent from that first stretch to the second stretch. 55% on their twos, so they do hang about in the same spot on their 2-point percent. Actually, one more offensive rebound per game in the recent stretch, 2 less stocks, and the same amount of turnovers per game. Now, their opponents, this is where it gets scary, right? Because not only is Arizona not shooting the ball well over this stretch, not only is Arizona, shooting the ball abysmally from 3 over this stretch, Damon, they're playing the worst defense as well over this stretch, because Arizona's opponents from KSU to ASU, 44% from the field, 35% from 3, and only 9 turnovers per game. And I want to real quick call back to the original opponent stats over the first stretch, where their opponents averaged about 40% from the field and 31% from 3. Big increases in those areas. And it's really quite worrying, Damon, because this is not something that I think you're going to be able to just turn a switch. This team has not shown, I think, this season that they can be the team that's like, all right, we got to lock in. We're locked in. They kind of have to work into a little bit of a lather. And I'm kind of worried that they're running out of time to get into that lather.
Yeah, I think this is a team that's shown that they play up and down to their competition, right? You see that with this ASU game in particular. There's been some closer games as well in the Big 12. Like TCU got off to an abysmal start in the Big 12, and that was Arizona's first game of the season, and that was a kind of a back and forth game. So that's just kind of the team that we have, and hopefully when it comes to March, you're playing good teams and you play up to that competition level. But it also just that inconsistency, I think, leads to some feelings of not having confidence right in this squad. I want to take a second, shout out everybody in the chat. Can you scroll up to the ASU dropping 100 comment? We got Joe in here. Joe Camacho dropping a good comment. ASU dropping 100 in Lute's house. Unheard of. Kevin, I did some quick research. Can you guess the last time that Arizona State, just give me a year, Arizona State scored 100 points in Tucson?
1978. Damon.
That was a long time ago, but 1995. 1995, ASU scored 103 points at McHale Center. They were the number 18 team in the country that year. I would venture to guess Arizona was decent because 94 Final Four team. So year after, I would imagine that they were a pretty solid squad as well. But it's been 30 years, Kevin, since I almost said 20 years. Bad maths. 30 years.
Almost as bad as mine.
Yeah. It's been 30 years since Arizona State has put up triple digits on the Wildcats in Tucson. Yeah, I mean, that's not something that you should really be proud of, I would say. Just not a good enough defensive performance. And we noted it last night on KenPom, right? They went from the 18th best defensive team in the country to the 27th best defensive team in the country in a 1-game sample, changing that. So it definitely doesn't make you feel good. It also, I think you can look at that and kind of, to an extent, be like, hey, it's 1-game sample size. It shouldn't impact this team that much. But and I think that seemed to be the mentality that Tommy Lloyd had in last night's post-game press conference. But again, we don't really know what's going on behind closed doors. He could be a lot more angry with the team than he's presenting. You and Erica noted he looks very tired in his post game availability.
Man. It was really late.
You're telling me, brother. We were doing a show. But yeah, it was Alex. I wish I could say 97, brother. But it still was a good era of Arizona basketball. I will say, Alex, incredible sign that he brought last night. He brought the
Please stay Bobby.
Please stay, right? Bobby. Yeah. As we're on the Bobby Forever train.
He even grabbed Carter for it. That was the most iconic part of
electric
it. Getting
picture.
Carter to co-sign that. I mean, can we just guarantee that Carter's coming back for an extra year? You don't do that if you're like, I'm going to the league. I don't really care about none of this petty drama. Nah, he wants to come back and beat ASU 2 more times. Is what Carter Bryant wants. So
we can only hope.
Leave that there. Yeah, I'll leave that there.
We can only hope, Kevin. But yeah, just overall, I don't think that you're in a spot where you're just feeling this team is exuding confidence, right? Just not really like we're talking about peaking at the right time of the basketball season. And that's been an issue with this program for years and years and years at this point. You got the truly elite programs, right? And I'm not going to say that this is the kind of the realm that we should be in, is UConn, Michigan State, right under those, Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke
We're
kind of realm.
We're in the blue blood basement. The blue blood basement.
But the thing about UConn and Michigan State is those are squads that peak at the right time consistently. They get to March, and that's when they play their best basketball year in and year out. And that's why they're in that group, right? Arizona regular season wise and like NBA players, sending players to the league wise is totally in that class. But they play their best basketball in, December and January. And it's just that, like, you got to find a way to make that stop. Who knows? I think there's a lot of times where, a team in the tournament, like, kind of limps in. I'm not going to say that this team is limping in. We don't know how they'll do in the Big 12 tournament. But if, like, there's times where teams limp into the NCAA tournament and then they flip the switch, right? And they all of a sudden just, like, become a completely different basketball team. I don't know that this team is going to do that, Kevin. Like, I really don't get any confidence that an Arizona team and a Tommy Lloyd team is gonna just flip the switch like that at the right moment, because I've never seen it before.
Yeah, no, and I was gonna ask you, because I was thinking maybe I should ask our guy Corey Williams this tonight on McHale Madness.
7 p.m.
What dictates consistency in these kind of situations, right? Because what does Arizona not have that like doesn't allow them to play consistent Arizona basketball? Why are they so up and down with both their defense and I guess mostly their offense, right? But I would love to know that, because do you have any idea what the lack of consistency could be coming from? I've kind of come down to the conclusion this season, it's not my final one, but it's where I'm leaning towards, is that it's just a weird mix of skill sets maybe this year. Like maybe Tommy is trying to really make some puzzle pieces that don't fit.
Yeah.
And maybe over time, every once in a while, you're just going to have stinkers like that, because
I think it's the
you
guards.
are trying to mismatch.
I think it's the guards, because, I think we highlighted it last night. Tobe, Awaka, and Henri Veesaar have been the most consistent players on this team for this stretch of conference play, at least in my opinion. At night in, night out, you know exactly what you're getting from them. Jaden Bradley as well. But KJ Lewis and Caleb Love in particular are, they're two of the three leading minutes getters on the team. And you don't really know what you're getting from a shooting perspective, at least from those guys night in and night out, right? KJ Lewis can, he dropped 21 points, I think, last night, or he could drop 4 points and it wouldn't shock anybody, right? Caleb Love is such a high variance guy and, has been struggling with his shooting percentages all season long, but typically gives you, a decent floor in terms of points, but, it doesn't always come the easiest. So I really think it's the guards and just somewhat of their inability to score consistently is that's my take on it. But that hasn't been the problem with all Tommy Lloyd teams. That's just the problem with this Tommy Lloyd team, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that kind of, I guess, leads into what I was saying, right, about it being a weird mix of guys, because you don't really have the knockdown shooter. You don't really have the guy that can just relentlessly get downhill. And even though I think KJ Lewis and Caleb Love kind of could be that duo of like, all right, KJ's just going to bull into China shop right down to the paint, and whatever happens, and Caleb Love's going to be...
He's so good when he does that.
I mean, to be fair, all of Arizona's guards are really good when they do that.
True.
I've been saying that all season. We're not going to do that again, but I'm saying I've been saying it all year. If Arizona's guards put more onus on getting downhill as opposed to chasing three-pointers, I don't think they do that all the time, chasing three-pointers. But I do think that, they kind of fall into that trap at times, right? Looking for jump shots, when in reality, they're killers when they get into the paint. They kill it when they crash downhill, Damon.
I'm with you completely. Yeah. It's like, but here's the difference, I think, with KJ in particular is Caleb Love and Jaden Bradley. I love their mid-range game. Like, especially Jaden Bradley last night, I think that's what he's got to do. Use his agility to take the guys off the bounce, right? And then when they're, fighting to get back in position, because Jaden Bradley can get so quick to the basket, then he just stops on a dime. He's wide open because the dude goes flying by, and then he hits, an easy mid-range shot. I think that Caleb Love, we've talked about it. Like, I know it was a great three-point shooting night for him last night, but I think in general should take more mid-range jumpers than 3-point jumpers based off of how this season has played out. So I think that those guys, like, they have a little bit extra to their bag. Whereas KJ, I'm like, dude, I'm not sure I want you taking a shot that's not in the restricted area the entire night.
Unless
And
you're wide open.
yeah, unless you're literally wide open.
Or on some sort of heater and you just got to get that heat check off.
Because
I would let it fly.
He's shooting 17% from 3 right now on the season,
Oh.
which is just not good enough. I don't think the mid-range has really been there either. And then last night, you see it. He just is attacking the rim time after time. And even some of the finishes are circus finishes, but they're going in because he's good around the rim. So I think KJ Lewis should be all restricted area shots, all layups, all transition buckets. And then, Jaden Bradley and Caleb Love, add a little bit more of the mid-range to your game. Utilize it a little bit more. I think that that mentality and kind of getting, and I don't want to make the guys one-dimensional. I don't want Tommy to be like, hey, you're a square, so we put a square into a square hole.
KJ, you shot outside the restricted area, benched. Get
Yeah,
out of here.
that's not what I'm asking, but I do think that this needs to be the shift of just how we ideally look to play as we go into the Big 12 tournament and March Madness, Kevin.
No, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think I called for this, a couple weeks ago, maybe 1 week ago. Time kind of is all becoming a haze, Damon. But I think that Tommy Lloyd, if I was in Tommy Lloyd's shoes, I would totally flip the focus. I'm not saying totally flip the offense, but I'm saying run your sets that are focused on the mid-range game primary, as opposed to running the sets that are focused on the three-point game as the primary. You know what I mean? I think you can run all the same stuff, but it's the frequency and the timing of the stuff you're running, right? I think getting your guys going when you know they can't shoot well is so important. Making them see stuff go in, right? I think is so important with this team. And we talked about how their guards can be quite inconsistent. That also plays into the bigs, Damon, because if your guards are inconsistent, it's the quarterback receiver conundrum, right?
For sure.
If you draft a receiver high but you don't have a quarterback, who's going to get them the ball? Right, so if you have Henri Veesaar, who's absolutely balling out in some of these games, Tobe Awaka, who's acting like the second coming of Hulk, you know what I mean? At times, I think if Arizona's guards are inconsistent with their ability to facilitate or score or take pressure off of the bigs, it's going to make it harder for the bigs to have a consistent role where they feel, okay, game in, game out, this is kind of what I can generally expect from my guards. And yeah, I think you might be spot on with that, Damon. That might be one of your better takes, my guy. That it's the guards. It's the guards making Arizona inconsistent.
You don't generally like my takes?
I think generally I enjoy your takes, but I think this one especially is chef's kiss, It's like, pizza is good no matter what the pizza is, but every once in a while you have a slice of Spinatos or something, for example, and you're just kind of like, damn, that was next level,
That was special.
That was next level. That was real deal spill.
I'm with you. I definitely agree with you. It all trickles down, right? And I think to even add on to this, right? Your best wing is Carter Bryant, and he's a freshman. So there's just going to be ebbs and flows with it, like you're doing. That there's waves.
It's the roller coaster up and down.
It doesn't all. Yeah, you can't expect consistency from that. I think Anthony Del Orso has shown that he can sometimes play his role that up a little bit in games where he's maybe more of the focal point of the offense, but there are also games where he's kind of getting played off the floor and you can't really give him heavy minutes. So, it's interesting because I think you can't really rely on the wings. You can rely on the big men, but they need help. And the guards are just the guys that you have to put your trust fully in and just hope that they can kind of carry you through the tournament and whatnot. I mean, we know guard play is the most important, postseason type of. I don't know how to put that necessarily in a good way, but
I think top end guard play in postseason college basketball
wins you.
Really gives you a one up on everybody else, and it's kind of like cream always rises to the top. Those teams with the top guard play, even if it's not maybe the most talented guards, but just the guards that play the most cohesive set of basketball. I'm with you.
Yeah, and in particular, I think experienced guards, right? And these dudes have experience. Jaden Bradley was the best player on last year's team in the tournament, right? He earned himself a starting role from doing that.
Single-handedly almost came back against Clemson by himself, pretty much.
So we know Jaden Bradley's up for it. Caleb Love, we've seen it in the tournament before, not necessarily last season at Arizona, but he has a lot of experience. He's made it deep into the tournament before. And KJ Lewis, he got his feet wet last season. So hopefully going into this season, you can expect a little bit more out of him. But I think that those three guys are really going to carry Arizona. And that's not necessarily like the hottest of hot takes, but it's like those guys are going to be what lose you your season or what hopefully, drag you to a late season type of run that, we've been so missing, I think, here in Tucson and in Arizona for this, last, 20 years or so. But yeah, Kevin, we're going to get into some more trends here for Arizona basketball on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Let's talk about our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I love Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Talked about it a little bit. Not sure if you guys heard. Going on a bachelor party trip this weekend. Going to Vegas, but I'll tell you what. I'm going to be sitting in those casinos going, I wish this was a Gila River Resort and Casino. I wish this was Wild Horse Pass in particular because, man, do I love Wild Horse Pass. It's clean. They got all the amenities that you could want in a casino. They got the concerts. They got the spa. They got, all the live table games with the great minimums. It's just great vibes out there. And we have some of our watch parties out there for Suns, Cardinals. We did a gross, nasty ASU one, but they got to see their Devils lose in the Peach Bowl, which was fun. So, we have a great time when we get our diehards out there and get some of our fans to go meet us for the watch party. Make sure you check our events tab on our website to see when our next one of those is. But man, do we love our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Just a great time. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details, Kevin.
And Damon, I referenced it earlier. I just got to, reach down right here and pick up my nice little box from Spinato's. Our friends over at Spinato's are very kind, and I wish I was having some Spinato's pizza this morning.
You know what was the worst thing about this box, Kevin, is that Max brought it out, and I, for a half second, I was like, is it pizza? Pizza in there?
You're like a Pavlovian dog. Pizza?
Yeah.
Food?
And I was pumped.
Yeah, no, I love that for you, Damon. But I
hate it for me. Because I just want some Spinato's.
No, I love it because now you need to go to Spinato's. Sure. I love that because now you're going to eventually have the urge to go to get the Spinato's that you need. It's the best pizza in the valley. And it's also the best spot to watch Suns games. You can watch it with the dancers and the gorilla. That's a pretty cool thing. And also, if you're into free Suns tickets, if you're into free NBA tickets, April 9th, you can get a game. You can get to go see the game, and you can also win free pizza for a year, which is a lot of pizza, Damon. So mark your calendar, Suns fans. If you have a jump shot, enter the Spinato's pizza competition where it's like horse, but you spell pizza, and get all the info on watch parties and pizza basketball contests at spinatos.com. Spinato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. That's spinatospizzeria.com.
Yeah. We got Javier in here saying, is this the worst roster that Tommy has assembled? No, because the 2022 roster exists. That roster was, the team that lost to Princeton, and I've said this before, the team that lost to Princeton was just not a well-constructed basketball team. That was a team that was always going to lose early in the tournament because they just were not great defensively. And they beat up on a horrible Pac-12 all season long. UCLA was good that year, but after that, every other team was nothing to write home about. So, yeah, I think that team was by far, the worst team in the Tommy era. Your lineup was Kirk Risa, Courtney Ramey.
Shout out St. Louis, Courtney Ramey. Shout out. Yeah. Shout out Webster Groves High School. Shout out
Pella Larson, Azulis Tabelis, and Umar Bala. That team was not constructed to win games in March. This team is much more constructed and conducive for winning games in March, in my opinion. Will they do it? I think I could see an early tournament exit as well. But I just think that, focusing on the guard play, getting defensive-minded guards, like that kind of stuff leads into, more late season runs. So maybe that team was that other team that I'm talking about was better in a regular season format, but I don't think that in a postseason format, which is ultimately what matters, that was a team that was, remotely scary to even a 15 seed Princeton. You know what I mean?
No, I do. And, Damon, I was thinking to myself, I know this is kind of like I don't know if you've seen the Max Holloway clip where they asked him like, hey, if you didn't break Justin Gaethje's nose in round 1, how do you think that fight goes? And he goes, well, if the wings that I have tattooed on my back were real, I would have actually flown out of the octagon and no fight would have happened.
Fair.
But if this Arizona team was still in the Pac-12 of last season, Damon, do you think people would still have the same takes about the roster? I'm not saying that to have a point. I think it's an interesting conversation topic because I think the
I
play
think
would have looked so much more dominant than
well,
it does in the Big 12. I think almost some of the sores that this Arizona team has might not have been exposed. Like some of the warts might not have been seen until the tournament, kind of like of years past, right? But yeah, little question for you. I was thinking about that while you were talking there.
yeah, I think it's a great point, Kevin. You look at what Duke has done in the ACC this year. I think that's what we're talking about. If this Arizona team is in the Pac-12, Duke's 18-1 in conference. They've played just bad team after bad team all season long. They only have 3 ranked teams in the ACC, and 2 of those are in large part because they've played absolutely nobody. North Carolina is having a bad season, and they're in 4th place in their conference of like 16
crazy,
teams
man.
or whatever.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like I think that we're looking at something similar if Arizona's in the Pac-12 still, where an Oregon team is struggling in a down year for the Big Ten, right? A UCLA team that's been borderline ranked all season long, not really a scary UCLA squad, and then you got who else is even it? ASU's the worst team in the Big 12, like
You would
Utah.
no.
Colorado stinks. Like
Yeah.
except here's the difference is Utah, Colorado, ASU are all middle of the pack teams if we're in the Pac-12, and
Yeah.
they're the bottom of the Big 12, right? So I think that Arizona runs through the conference, but it begs the question, Kevin, of like, does this better prepare Arizona for getting into the tournament? Because they'll know what it's like to be in these dogfight type of games. They'll be battle tested in that regard, and I think that that's where it helps Arizona in the tournament and in the conference tournament that like they're just better prepared for these type of dogfight environments rather than running through a conference. Like that's why I don't have much confidence in Duke this season. I think Duke's an incredible team, but I think that Duke's going to get to a spot where they're down 8 against a team that is better than any team they've played all season long in the Sweet 16, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't know how to come back from this. We've been winning by 10 every game, 10 plus,
And plus
the entire season. So yeah, I think that does drastically change the season, but it also I think it hampers the ceiling a little bit as well.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that, but I also think that in the Big 12, actually, real quick on the Duke thing, I also think I haven't watched every Duke game, so someone correct me if I'm wrong on this, and if he has done this. I'm a big Cooper Flag guy. Like I'm huge on Cooper Flag. I have some of his cards. Like I'm big on the guy, right? But like my thing with him is every time I've seen him in a game-winning situation, I think he's literally dribbled it off of his foot both times. So like I say that to say Cooper Flag, incredible player, but unless you're like Anthony Davis or like, I don't know, LeBron or Zion. I know LeBron didn't play in college, but like if you're not that type of guy, it's really hard to carry a team all the way, right? So if you are Duke, you're going to have to be solid everywhere, and you're going to have to kind of be battle tested in a way. Excuse me, in order to do that, Damon. But I think your point about Arizona is good, and that's why I kind of ask you the question, because I think there will be years, and it's not a hot take that I'm coming up with here, but I think because you're in the Big 12 and you're not in the Pac-12 anymore, where you can kind of just run through and dominate teams, there will be years where Arizona's roster might, on paper or even on court, look below average for an Arizona team, I should say. And then they might even succeed in the Big 12 tournament or in the March Madness tournament because you've played in the Big 12 all year and you're one of the best teams in the Big 12, and that automatically means you're one of the best teams in the country. And so when you're that kind of level of battle tested, it might look ugly in the conference, but then when you're unleashed upon the rest of the country, you might actually find some success, and maybe fans will be remembering like, oh man, that 2025 team, they looked rough at points, and then they kind of pulled it together, and that Elite Eight run was fun. You know what I mean? Like
Ultimately, fans of this program will only remember how far they make it into the tournament. You could lose the first game of the Big 12 tournament if they make a Final Four season. That's the season everyone's talking about. Doesn't matter about the regular season, and I think that we're just in a situation right now where. Yeah, of course, this team is not going to look as good in the Big 12 as it would in the Pac-12. That's the reality of the situation. And yeah, this stretch of 7 games here with 4 losses has been rough on the fan base. But ultimately, it's that's what we signed up for, Kevin. That's what is going to help Arizona get more battle tested. And do I have a bunch of confidence that this team is going to make a deep tournament run? No, I don't. But Do I think that they're in a better spot being in the Big 12 than being in the Pac-12? Yes, I think that that's going to ultimately be a positive for this team in terms of how they'll play late in the tournament. My guy Alec makes a good point here. Says fans have high expectations, but it's nice that the national media won't just put us all over their Final Four brackets like everyone does every year. Thanks, Obama. Guy puts us in his Final Four every damn year. It feels like.
Oh man, I also think part of that was the Tommy Lloyd thing of it all, like the new shiny toy for the national media of it all. Like, oh, this coach is doing it big in his first couple years. He's guaranteed to make it far this time.
I'll tell you where we're at, Kevin.
You know what I mean, though?
We're in the sweet spot right now of Tommy Lloyd's not the new bright shiny toy, right? People have seen him lose in the tournament a few times now, and they're like, oh, we're trending on it, like the new narrative being is Tommy Lloyd a loser, right? Like I think that's what happened to Sean Miller eventually. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just chuckling because it's ridiculous, but you are right.
No,
you're right.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah, you're right.
Right now is the sweet spot. This is where Arizona actually needs to start winning some games because we have a little bit less of the pressure off of us, right? Like there's a little bit less of like they're a 1 or a 2 seed. They better make a Final Four run this year. So I think that pressure is hampered, but we're not quite in the place yet where the whole narrative is going to be Arizona and Tommy Lloyd can't win in the tournament, right? And so I think that this season, next season, like that's where you're going to have to find that sweet spot and say, yes, we have to pull some wins together and flip that narrative before it becomes too late. Because I do think that it gets to a point where that can be detrimental, Kevin. Like I think we saw it with Sean Miller. He almost makes a Final Four in his second year, and then he almost makes 2 more Final Fours with 2 awesome teams. You have the number 5 overall team and the number 2 overall team in the country. And you don't make a Final Four either of those years, right? And you lose in, pretty tragic fashion in both of those to Wisconsin. And then after that, it just felt like a weight was on this program's shoulder for the entire time. Sean Miller can't win the big one. Arizona's a bunch of, tournament losers. And it's like, I think that eventually starts mentally affecting the coaching staff. That trickles down to the players. So I think that Arizona has to take advantage of this current space that they're in where the pressure is a little bit off, right? Not by the fans, but by just the national perspective and get those W's now before it's too late.
Yeah, and Damon, you kind of alluded to it earlier. I think we should just talk about it now. How far do you think this Arizona team can make it in the tournament as they're currently constituted, Damon? Because we kind of have been teasing it, alluding to it at times during some of our takes on this episode, but I tweeted it this morning that I'm kind of terrified about this team in March Madness because 2 weeks ago I felt, okay, Elite Eight, I mean, that's doable. Like it's very tough. I'm not saying you just walk into an Elite Eight, but I'm saying I thought the team's ceiling was like Elite Eight, maybe miraculous Final Four appearance kind of situation. But after the recent defensive performances, like that was the one thing I was Abe Lincoln hanging my hat on, and now I'm walking back out of Moe's. You know what I mean? Because I feel like at this point, if they make an Elite Eight, I'm ecstatic. Like I'm like obviously I'm not ecstatic in general because you want the national title, but I'm saying for this year's team, for what I expected them now, I think like 2 tournament wins. That might be what they have in the tank, right? Like that might be it. But that might be what they have in the gas tank, Damon.
Like it's a weird question for me because we were just highlighting it. Like I wouldn't be shocked if this team made a Final Four run. I really wouldn't. I think that they're talented enough to do so. I think that we've seen the defense at times be at the level it needs to be to do so, and I think there's a world in which Caleb Love has a hot 4-game stretch, right? Like that's not a thing that's like impossible to happen. I could totally see all that happening. Do I expect it? Not necessarily. I think, this team is probably a Sweet 16 team, which is what we've kind of been accustomed to seeing. But I really do think this team could go, as far as they want to go. But I don't know. I think it's such a high variance topic. It is every year. There's not a ton of years where I'm like, super confident they're going to go far, super confident they're going to lose early. I mentioned talking about that 22 team, like I think that I knew that team was going to lose early. I just felt it. The 14 and 15 teams, I think you knew those teams were going to go far into the tournament because they were just built for it. But you're looking at this current team. I kind of put my hands up in the air and say, like, I could see it going almost every single direction, Kevin. And maybe
I
that's
could too. But
maybe that's like maybe not everybody agrees with that, especially after last night. But like I could see a first round loss. I could see a Final Four appearance. Like I really wouldn't be shocked if this team did anything. So that makes it all the much more interesting. But it also kind of leaves you in flux of like, what are we supposed to expect going into this?
I think that's the pragmatic, accurate, very almost me take to have. I think like very just like even keel, right? But I think I'm
all
kind
I'm
of
ever trying to be.
I'm
Is you, Kevin.
I'm trying to get like you, my boy. But no, I think like Damon, look, man, like I think I agree with you that this could go in any direction for this specific Arizona team, right? And you can't say that for every team in the country, right? That it is kind of unique in a way. And my guy Jacob in the chat says this squad reeks of a first round exit, which in a way, because you don't have the shooting and the defense is so high variance, it's possible.
I
But
think that it's very matchup dependent. Can I say that? Like if they give us
the seeding breaks a certain way, they're going to be tough matchups the whole way through.
If they give us a small team that likes to run the floor, we're going to crush that team.
Oh yeah.
If they
High
give
point?
us if they give us a really like slow it down, decent sized team, maybe they're a power conference team that had a kind of a down year, but they snuck in one of the last 4 in or something like that, like and they have momentum, I could see that being a big problem, Kevin.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of what I was alluding to before of like, what do I think this team could do? They could do literally anything because this team has all the pieces to, except for a shooter.
They could go to the moon.
To go to the moon, right? But also, what do I expect from this team? I literally expect, like, was it you or was it Eric that asked me last night, over under 1.5 tournament wins for Arizona, and I was like, damn, that's a good number, man. Like
1.5?
Yeah, 1.5 is a good number. I took the over, but I'm saying like when you're making the expectation, like that probably is what you set the line at, right? Like
I think they're about a Sweet 16 caliber team. I mean, you look at their KenPom ranking right now, and they're like 18th.
Yeah, I think so. I think they fell to where'd they fall to
14
after last night. 14.
Sweet 16 caliber team. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. So 2 wins is that.
It's just disappointing. It's just disappointing because I think like just weeks ago I felt differently about the squad.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
I think that's where I was going at when I was saying you win those Houston and BYU games. I think we still are riding that high.
Oh, dude, we're on the moon right now. Like you and I are starting the Mars colony right now.
You win those games, Arizona's probably the 9th team in the country, something like that. Like they're really high in the rankings. That they have 3 conference losses all year long. Like that would be genuinely season changing. So it's difficult because it's like you're 1 or 2 plays away from that being the case. One call in a particular game. Not naming names again. And by the way, BYU screwed by the refs again last night. You hate to see it for those guys. But
I was actually a little insider baseball for our buy or sell segment. I was kind of coming up with topics. Damon, I literally almost made one of the topics. If BYU won the national title, would their fans still complain?
Yeah.
And I just felt like that was a little bit too, like, giving too much credence to the BYU fans on our own show. But it would have been a hilarious
They would
topic.
find a way.
Yeah, they would find a way.
And we won this one despite it being 8-on-5. How did we manage? This is the greatest team of all time.
We won the national title and the national media still doesn't care. It's like, yeah, because BYU won the national title. Like, anyway. But no, Damon, I think that like in terms of this Arizona team, right, and their variance, the high variance, do you think Caleb Love will, not can, do you think he will string together a nice little 4-piece in the tournament, like a nice little stretch of a month long of just consistent Caleb Love basketball? Will he do it when the lights are the brightest, in his last chance to do it when the lights are the brightest?
I would love nothing more, Kevin. I've trusted in Caleb Love all season long, so I'm going to continue to do so. I do. Could this blow up in my face and I look stupid? 100%. There's totally a world where that's the case. But that being said, Kevin, like I think you just gotta trust in your guy. You gotta ride that horse until the wheels fall off the wagon. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I do. Ride that roller coaster, Damon. You do your thing, man. Saddle up. But no.
What was weird about that?
No, I don't. I was kind of letting Shane cook. He said, "No, I don't know what you mean," and so I kind of went with the "No, I don't know what you mean." I was trying to convey that through to you. You know what I mean?
The wagon.
Yeah, but
if you listen to the full
I
statement,
know, but you're not riding the horse, you're riding the wagon at that point. So
you right.
This is semantics, boys. We're really getting into the weeds on the wagon analogy. But
Arizona beats ASU 113 to 100 last night. No, I'm just kidding.
Bobby Hurley, let go. No, I'm kidding. But no, we were talking about Caleb Love. I think, I have full faith in Caleb Love. I have full hope and admiration for Caleb Love. I trust Caleb Love to be Caleb Love every night.
Relax a little bit.
No, I'm saying I trust him to be him. Hey, man, if I could dunk like Caleb, I admire the way he is.
I love Caleb Love. Like my own brother, I'd take a bullet for Caleb Love.
All right. Man's never even bought me a coffee. I don't know if I'm taking a bullet for the guy. I'll take a bullet for you before I take a bullet for Caleb Love. But anyway, my point is that I don't know if I expect Caleb Love to do what he's done at the highest level this tournament. But this time around, the last chance he's got, one last dance, so to speak. Come on, man. One last love song. Oh, that's what we got to go with. One last love song is what we got to go with. But anyway, I do expect him to actually string together some. I know I said it earlier that maybe I didn't, but now we're getting to the point. I had an epiphany this morning. I felt it, Damon. I felt it in my bones.
I've been saying that all season long. I mean, it's like not a great like basketball analysis take, but
no, it's all vibes. This is a vibes take.
Yeah, totally. I've just been feeling all season long that he's gonna show up in March when we need him to, and yeah, I don't. Maybe it's wishful thinking. I feel like I'm not like a big, I'm not always the most overtly positive guy when it comes to Arizona basketball. So, I just, this is just my personal opinion. I'm riding with Caleb Love. I really am. Comic Book Chris puts in here that there's some close similarities between 96, 97 and, being a 4 seed, 5 seed, maybe like this team might be. It's going to be close depending on this Kansas game. And just talking about the hopium that comes with it, I think it's a great point, right? Like, you want to talk about greatest Arizona teams of all time. 97 isn't even close, Kevin. Like, if you really look into it, that was a team they were good, but they weren't great in the regular season. But they played in a really tough Pac-12. They got to the tournament, and they caught fire at the right time. And that's really, that's kind of what you need to do. Like, and I say Pac-12, I should say the Pac-10. The
Pac.
This mold is similar to that, just in that, like, maybe they're not the best team in the conference, but they're pretty damn close. And Houston is phenomenal, but they could have easily beat Houston. So, it's I think that you just can't write this team off before they actually get to the tournament. And I think a lot of people want to do that today based off of what last night's game brought. But I'm not ready to do that. I think that this team has some real upside to them when it comes to just the way they're built and how good they can play at certain times.
And you know what, Damon? I do want to make this one thing clear. I know you're not saying that I'm saying that, but I want to make it clear. I'm not writing Arizona off.
No, I'm more talking to like the fans that are.
Yes, but I think I'll say it like this: the last couple of games, this last stretch of 7 games for Arizona hasn't made me truly alter my ceiling that much. Maybe one round lower than I thought before, but like we both kind of alluded to, this Arizona team can do anything in a good and bad way. But I think what this last 7 game stretch has made me alter, Damon, is the floor. Like I think over the last 2 months before this, Arizona had kind of convinced me that, hey, the floor might be Sweet 16. The floor might be there. And now with this recent stretch of play, the ceiling hasn't really altered too much, it's maybe 1 foot lower, but the floor has drastically changed in what I think this Arizona team could underachieve. And I don't know. I think that the high end is still the high end for Arizona, but I hadn't thought they would be that low since like the first couple months of the year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Clint Moses puts in the chat here, Oregon State fan. Sweet 16 is the ceiling unless Love averages 25 points in March Madness. I think that's like honestly a fair opinion. I don't know that 25 is like the exact barometer that you need to find, but we're talking about it, Kevin, ad nauseum. Like, Caleb Love is going to be the driving force of this team in the tournament. If he has a good tournament, like Arizona can go as far as he takes them, right? But there's also the chance that he shoots 5 of 15, and that spells the end of Arizona's season. So it'll be interesting to watch play out. If you're in this chat, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Helps us out a lot. Kevin, we're going to talk about some buy or sell presented by our friends over at Carol Roy's team right after the break here on AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, I want to talk about our friends over at Cornbread Hemp. If you guys haven't tried out Cornbread Hemp products, make sure you do so immediately, because you got some aches in your life. You just want to maybe have a way to unwind at the end of a long work day like me and Kevin had last night. Cornbread Hemp is going to be the way to go. They got all the USDA organic CBD gummies and THC gummies as well. Highest quality, full spectrum gummies on the market. And they help with stress relief, better recovery, and of course, improved sleep, which I know I could get a little bit of. I know, Kevin, we both got the day off tomorrow. Maybe pop a little bit of Cornbread Hemp.
Oh, big time.
Get maybe
big
a good 10-hour sleep night.
Ooh,
Maybe,
ooh,
what do they call it? REM
REM
sleep?
sleep.
Yeah,
have some crazy vivid dream.
You want some REM sleep? Cornbread Hemp.
Big time.
That'll put you in a just
happy hour relaxation station. You know what I mean?
It sounds unbelievable. They got free shipping and backs all their products with a 30-day better life guarantee. Third-party lab tested, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, no artificial flavors or preservatives. And as I already mentioned, they're USD certified organic. So, it's just, what they got going on over at Cornbread Hemp is special. If you want to give Cornbread Hemp a try, they're offering PHNX listeners 30% off your first order. It's 30% off, guys. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use the promo code PHNX at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PHNX. Use code PHNX for 30% off your first order. This is the good life, Cornbread Hemp.
And look, y'all, if you guys are like me and you love affordable gas, because Lord knows I needed it. Last night I drove home on 0. Don't tell anybody. I drove home on empty. It's less than 10 miles. We're good.
Thanks.
I know. I was tired, Damon. I didn't want to.
You judge me.
I do judge you. I apologize. Hand up. That's on me. But I needed gas this morning, so I stopped at Circle K on the way in, got that 3 cents off because I'm working my way up to that 5 cents off exclusive Inner Circle membership that you can just sign up for at the pump. And for your first, 5 fill-ups, I believe it is. Your first 5 fill-ups, you get 25 cents off per gallon, which is nothing to shake a stick at. That adds up real quick. And I just want to say that Circle K also has crazy nice meal deals, snack deals, drink deals, energy drink deals. All the deals that you need are at Circle K if you join that Inner Circle membership.
Yep.
Checking out a Circle K couldn't be any easier. Nowadays, you just put your little items on the little scanner thing, you scan your card, and you're out of there. Circle K is honestly the perfect gas station experience. So make sure to stop by America's Thirst Stop and join the Inner Circle for free today by downloading the Circle K app. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. And you might even spot our guy Max yapping it up on the Circle K little television there.
Max is yapping all the time, man. If I saw that,
guy
I
just
think
doesn't shut up.
Yeah. I'd be like, if I saw, I hope I don't see Max at the gas station. You might see me though. I think I got one filmed.
I think we have one.
If it's public, we do have one, I believe. I also have one with Cardinals with Bo Brock. So yeah, maybe you'll see me on there. But of course, Max, we know he's self-serving. All he wanted was his face plastered all over the Circle K TVs. I'm sure he probably only gave them his. He probably only sent his through.
Circle K was like, wait, I thought we had like 10 more VODs coming through.
Just this
Max
one's
was
good.
like, no, honestly, there was a little technical error on our side. Let's just plaster these for all the spots. You know what I mean?
Max has missed so many Rising shows recently. Like, does he even deserve to be on one? Begs the question.
Yo, he had his own podcast co-host doing like a missing poster for him. He didn't even know where he was. I was apparently the only guy in the office that remembered that Max went to freaking Africa to avoid being on Rising. So that's neither here nor there, Max. But we'll deal with him later.
Kevin, we got some buy or sell we got to get into.
But real quick, before we do that, I wanted to answer my guy Javier's question, who says, since this team we now have agreed expectations are in the air, do we even want them to win any Big 12 tournament games or hope that they lose and rest up for March? And honestly, Javier, I get your sentiment here. I really do, because some of the things we're talking about with this team, and I know it's unbelievable to say this about high-level athletes that are paid to do what they're doing at this point, but this team, to an extent, looks somewhat worn down, Damon Dog. Like, I don't think that they're tired. I don't think that they're extra sore. We also do need a Henri Veesaar cupping update, but that's for another time. But I think you do want to win. In fact, you want to win the entire Big 12 tournament if you're Arizona, because you need all the momentum you can get,
For
all
sure.
the confidence you can get, all the proof of concept that you can get heading into March Madness, that this is something that you can do. You can cut down nets. You can win a championship. Coach Jimmy Valvano, during NC State's era, had them practice cutting down the nets at the end of every practice for the whole year, Damon. They would practice cutting down nets at the end of practice so that when they did it, it felt like they had been there before, and they were kind of manifesting that. And so I think you want to win these big games to prove to guys like Carter Bryant, to guys like Henri Veesaar, to guys like Tobe Awaka to a lesser extent, Trey Townsend, ADO, that, hey, this is what we do here at Arizona. We go into these big games and we win them. We don't just kind of play in them. No, we go out and take them, we win them. And so I think that that's why you want to win the Big 12 tournament more so than anything, to be honest with you. The bragging rights, the actual tournament is great, but the way Arizona's playing, you want proof of concept going into March.
For sure, and I think it's also a statement for the Big 12. First year in the conference, hey, we didn't have the regular season maybe we anticipated.
Close,
but
yeah.
You get into the conference tournament and you win the whole thing, you're probably knocking off a Houston or a Texas Tech in the process, maybe both. Like, that's going to build some momentum, and that's going to just kind of for the national scene, like, just make people respect you a little bit more. But I understand Javier's point as well. It does kind of, like, if they were to win the Big 12 tournament, I think that all of a sudden what we're talking about, the pressure being a little bit off Arizona, being like a 4 or a 5 seed, goes straight
right
back on them. Because then they're probably a 3 seed, right? They win the whole thing. They're probably up to a 3 seed, and they're a popular pick for everybody going into the tournament of, like, watch out for Arizona. They're hot right now. I got them in my Final Four, and Obama's picking them in the Final Four again. And we can blame him again. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting concept there, but I think you always take the W's. I'm like, you should never be sitting there being like, I think it'd be better for this team if they lost. I don't think that there's ever a world where that's the case, right? You win every game all season, you're the national champion. So it's like you should always be trying to win. I think, I would love to be instilled with confidence by having a really, really strong Big 12 tournament run here that capped off with a championship. But yeah, Kevin, we got to buy or sell. We've gotten, this is a little bit late into the show to be starting this because
we had a lot of tournament talk to talk about. There's a lot of shifting expectations, and sometimes you save the main event for last. You wouldn't have Alex Pereira fighting Magomed Ankalaev on the first fight of the night. No, that would be stupid. You want to save that for when everyone's butts are in the seats, everyone's got their drinks with them, and they're ready to be entertained. So let's run this buy or sell presented by the Carol Royce team, your home sold guarantee. And shout out to our guy Noah for the crispy graphics. Now, Damon, our first topic on buy or sell is going to be last night's game versus ASU was the worst defensive performance of the year. I'm buying. Damon's buying. What's your reasoning, Damon Dog?
You give up 100 points to an AAU team. Like, and that's not to be disrespectful, but like that's not the depth and quality that you would come to expect in a Big 12 conference team. And yeah, I just think it was unacceptable, frankly, Kevin. It's you give up triple digits. I know that score makes it even worse. Like, I think 100 feels a lot worse than 95 even, but it can't happen. You can't continue to let these teams, shoot, 50+% from 3 against you on a kind of a somewhat consistent basis. So yeah, I'm buying that was the worst defensive performance of the year because I've been largely happy with the defense, even in a game like where they lost against West Virginia earlier, right, Kevin? Like, I think like the early West Virginia season loss, like Tucker DeVries was just hitting every shot. Sometimes there's nothing you can do.
Or even the Wisconsin game where they let up 103, but that's on the road and they were on a heater and you still weren't the team you were yet. So yeah, continue.
Last night, and you have, they shoot 49 free throws or whatever they shoot against you. Like last night was, I think, controllable. And you're like pick and rolls. They had some of our guys were just lost. Sean Phillips is getting wide open dunks. Alston Mason is rolling to the basket and getting a free layup out of it, like layup line type stuff. So it's like that you control what you can control, and that kind of stuff is controllable. And we didn't see it last night, right? So I'm buying that that's the worst defensive performance of the year. Real quick, Kevin, before you give your answer, I just want to say if you're watching with our streaming partners, head on over to gophnx.com. Party will continue over there as we finish up the buy or sell segment.
The party continues. The party never ends. I think that this was the worst. Last game was the worst performance on the defensive stand for Arizona. There's not much that needs to be said on this. This is McHale Court. This is that's the other aspect. This is the wood grain that Lute built. You know what I'm saying? The Empire Flooring sponsored. No, I'm kidding. But I think like you can't let Arizona State just come into your house and put up triple digits with a shorthanded squad and a coach that might be, curious as to whether or not the sun's going to rise tomorrow.
Well, here's the thing.
You can't let that happen.
I brought up the last time that they scored triple digits in Tucson, right? Like, that hasn't happened since ASU was the number 15 team in the country 30 years ago. Conversely, you're playing a team that's, one of the worst teams in its entire conference is now 4-15 in conference and had 6 players that could play in that game, Kevin. It's not like giving up triple digits to a good ASU team like that is way different than giving up triple digits to the ASU team that played last night.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And I think that you bring up a good point about the 30 years aspect of this. Like, that's really all that needs to be said. This is something that has not happened against your rival on your home court in 30 years when they were one of the best teams that the nation had to offer. And they're certainly not that this year, Damon. So, yeah, we're both buying that last year was the worst defensive performance, or last night's game was the worst defensive performance of the year for Arizona, and that they got to shake right if they're going to beat Kansas on the road in Fog Allen, Damon. But topic number 2 is going to be Bobby Hurley should call our friends over at Carol Royce to buy a new home because he's going to be moving to the Big East, Damon.
Well, here's the thing, Kevin. Does Carol do stuff for like New Jersey, New York? Like, who knows?
Maybe the better question is, should Bobby Hurley call to sell his home before moving to the Big East?
That's what I was just about to say.
Because Carol Royce does both.
Yes. If Bobby wants to sell his house here in the Valley, I'm sure he's got a beautiful, like, Paradise Valley home. Carol's going to get you the best price on the market for it, Bobby. You know it. I know it. My guy Kevin knows it. All the people in the chat know it. You hit up Carol Roy's team, and guess what, Kevin? They got that guaranteed market price you're going to sell it for, else Carol's going to refund Bobby the difference.
Because Lord knows Bobby going to need it in the meantime, being unemployed and all that. So, yeah, no, Damon.
Hit up Carol Royce, Bobby.
Yeah, hit up Carol Royce. They're reliable. And Bobby's probably not worried about finances, but if you are worried about finances, they got the best lenders in the game. They got off the market listings. The Carol Royce is the best. But point is, Bobby Hurley, this question is asking, is Bobby Hurley going to be fired after this season or mutually agree to part ways, whatever lingo you want to put out there? I'm buying it. Damon's buying it. I think, like you said, pre-show we were talking about it. It's been 10 years and not a lot's gone down.
3 games in Dayton and one game in the field of 64. My guy Alex said it in the chat last night. You mentioned it to me after the post game. Actually, I didn't really see it back then, but he might be the assistant coach at UConn next year. I think that's if he doesn't get a head coaching opportunity. I think that he'll probably be the lead assistant at UConn, and we'll see something similar to like when Sean Miller had Archie Miller as his lead assistant coach, and it'd probably be great. Probably be a really well coached.
It would be incredibly well coached. I'm just kind of laughing and beside myself a little bit thinking about the level of meltdown that could happen on that's like nuclear. That's like nuclear meltdown.
Yeah.
Like we got to evacuate a 10 square mile radius.
Usually your lead assistant, especially for those guys, like you probably need
hold them back.
You probably need them to be a calming presence, like a
Ken Nakagawa or Murph.
Hey Bob, hey Dan, we're gonna be all right, man. But no, with those guys, like they're just gonna feed off each other. Who could freak out more?
Oh my God! It's gonna be like
Spies too, Dennis Walsh.
Yeah, that's a good comment from
100%.
Dennis Walsh. But I was gonna say it's kind of like dueling banjos or just like a WWE tag team where you just, all right, Danny, tag me in. I'm about to go crazy. You already got a tech. I have 0 techs.
You want me to get teed up? Okay, I'll get teed up for you.
It's not just me; it's the bench. Okay, fine. Let's go. Let's run it up. No, but I think that could be very entertaining.
That would be extremely entertaining.
I think that would be entertaining. I admit that would be so close to WWE that I would be entertained.
And UConn would be like so hateable too.
Oh,
it'd be great. But
I don't even want to hate UConn though. I kind of like UConn.
Yeah, I don't mind him. I'm not like a big Danny Hurley hater, but if he brought Bobby onto the team, and I'm not a big Bobby hater either. I'm Bobby forever. I've long said that. But if Bobby and Danny were to match up, like I think that would be like the best heel duo you've ever seen in your entire life.
It'd be
all
the Rock,
about that.
It'd be like I'm not trying to compare Bobby Hurley to John Cena because he's nowhere near. Maybe he's like this Travis Scott in that situation. Maybe he's like The Rock, and then you got The Rock and you got Travis Scott, just like, yeah, I'm here. Woo-hoo!
We need like Hunter Dickinson to play an 8th year at UConn or something. Like he could be the next villain. By the way, I was watching Hunter Dickinson against Houston. That guy is so unwatchable, man. Thank God he's not on my team, and you know we're gonna have to gear up for probably gonna eat my words here, but it's just like he's one of those guys that's just like at least Caleb Love. He's been in college forever. At least he's freaking fun, man. Hunter Dickinson is just a big oaf.
You know, it's unfortunate. I pulled the Hunter Dickinson rookie, like rated rookie situation the other night.
Rookie?
And I was just because like they have like the
more
college
like Hunter
rookies.
Dickinson 10-year NBA veteran.
It was like rated prospect situation. Like maybe it wasn't like rookie, but like rated NBA prospect situation. And I was just like, this card sucks. Like it's like a tiger stripe. It's supposed to be valuable, but no one cares about Hunter Dickinson.
Especially not like as a prospect.
We've had so many years to have a chance to care about Hunter Dickinson.
Matt
and
Garza.
No one still cares.
It's like he's such a Big Ten basketball player, Hunter Dickinson, and he should have just like I know Kansas has brought him back, but it's like he should have just stayed there, Kevin. He should have stayed there because Matt Garza is like that's such a Big Ten basketball player. Dude just was at Iowa for a million years, scored so many points, is just stiff, like had some good touch around the rim, good counting stats. That's Hunter Dickinson ball. Doesn't fit the Big 12. Hopefully Arizona proves that on when it comes to Saturday night. But Kevin, let's get into our next topic here on buy or sell.
Next up,
we got did Jonah Savaiinaea raise his stock more, his draft stock that is, more than any other Arizona Wildcat at the NFL Combine? We're both buying this. A lot of agreement on this. A lot of love in this room.
Yeah, we're gonna get to the hate in a second, though.
Yeah, lots of love in this room right now.
It's about to get real family Thanksgiving table.
We'll get nasty.
Here in a second. Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're both buying here because T-Mac, how much more can you raise your stock when you're already a borderline top 10 prospect? I think the question with T-Mac is T-Mac going to be the highest drafted Arizona Wildcat ever? At least since Chris McAllister, which, I think we talked about on Monday's show, it was drafted 10th overall by the Baltimore Ravens. So that's a little kind of a fun barometer there, but it's hard to improve your stock any more than when you're already the number one receiver. Like you could really only hurt your stock, right? So,
I mean, especially according to Mel Kiper, who has him dropping not only out of the top 10, not only out of the top 15, not only out of the top 20, but he has him going, well, I guess the top 20 would be 20 and up, right? So I'm not wrong to say falling out of the top 20 is 22.
Yeah.
Okay, bet. Yeah, no. So yeah, Mel Kiper is tripping all types of all over himself. I hope at least. And maybe Justin Spears, hope he's right. But yeah, no, I think
Tyler Loop is like, he had a good workout. And like, I think that helps, but no one's looking at your kicking performance in shorts, like in a dome. You know what I mean? Like that's not,
with you. No,
that's not going to be like anything that the coaches are going to be like, oh, we got to get this guy in the building. That's going to be way more what he did at Arizona. I think what Jonah Savaiinaea proved out there at the Combine is that he is one of the more athletic offensive linemen in this draft. And from a guard standpoint in the history of the draft. A 99th percentile in guard athleticism. So, a lot of people think he's going to move to guard. He's certainly got the build for a guard. And, just what he showed from an athleticism standpoint, I think, how could you say it doesn't help him? I've seen some rumors that he could maybe make his way into the back end of the first round. I don't see that happening, but I do think he solidly placed himself in the second round here, given his performance. There were some rumors he might slip to the third. I think now we're looking at middle of the second, top of the second type of draft status for Jonah Savaiinaea, and I think he definitely raised his value in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I think you alluded to it. We're both buying this because T-Mac can only go but so high, and he can only really drop lower, right? And Tyler Loop as a kicker, his ceiling is what it already is in the draft, and so by far Jonah Savaiinaea was raising his stock all over the place. Not only, it wasn't just at the Combine, it was in the bowl games before that, like the little offseason bowl games as well. He was bullying guys all over the place, Damon.
Senior Bowl.
Yeah, Senior Bowl. Yeah, the Senior Bowl. And yeah, he was bullying guys all over the place all offseason, really making his name known. And I talked about this on a recent show we had talking about Jonah Savaiinaea, but I was saying he's really taken full opportunity or full advantage of this opportunity he has in front of him to make his name known in this draft class. And I'm very, I'm not his family member or nothing, but you always are proud and happy to see someone kind of chasing their dream and really showing that this is their dream, right? Putting the work in and it's showing is always great to see.
Well, he's just a great representation for the program. Great dude.
Exactly,
Easy,
yeah.
really
Well,
easy
yeah.
to root for. So, yeah, love Jonah. Let's get into our next topic here, Kevin.
Next up,
Getting back, I believe, to some oh no, we're
we
going
got
into football here. Yep.
Brennan's addition of Craig Nivar as the new special teams coordinator is a big deal. We got a little bit of disagreement. Damon is selling. I am buying.
I'll let you start, Kevin.
I'm buying this because this is a Broyles Award nominee for the 2023 season with 30 years of experience. The guy who's done this specific job for a long time now, is very well versed in special teams. I think last season, Coach Danny Gonzalez, who is now defensive coordinator, had maybe a little bit spread too thin at times and maybe not working with a full set of tools at times as well. But is also a guy who specializes in like safeties and other areas. He's coached special teams in the past as well, but not really a special team specialist, so to speak, like Coach Nivar is. And so I don't think it's a big deal from the perspective of like, whoa, Arizona got Craig Nivar, watch out. You know, Brent Brennan building a dream team in Tucson.
Yeah.
But I think it's a big deal from the perspective of this is a credentialed guy, a well-respected guy, an award nominee in recent time. Like, unlike Dino Babers, this is a recent guy who's accumulated recent accolades. You know what I mean? That's a real thing, though, right? You're not just looking at his resume saying, well, back in 2014, he did this. No. 2 years ago, this guy was a Broyles Award nominee. So I think it's a big deal to show that you lose Dwayne Aquina to Texas, and Brent Brennan's right back at the anvil, banging away, trying to strike while the iron is still hot and add well-respected coaches to this staff that recruits can look at and say, all right, Broyles Award winner. I don't know, I don't know much about him, but this is clearly a credentialed staff throughout. And I think that's why it's a big deal to me.
Yeah, I agree with all your points. I don't mean to like poo-poo it. I guess my perspective is that, yeah, should this improve the special teams based off of what we saw last season? And it was rough last season. And yeah, I think Danny Gonzalez would probably be the first to tell you that doing double duty there is pretty difficult when it came to that, because I'm sure he was a big part of the defensive game planning process as well last season. But yeah, getting a guy in there who's going to specialize in that aspect of the ball and special teams, especially in college, is a massive deal when it comes to winning football games. But I'll tell you what I like about it a lot. He's coached at Texas, he's coached at USC, which are, hypothetically two of the regional pipelines that this team is really going to want to tap into. Texas and Southern California.
Already tapping into Texas to Tucson. Let's get it going,
yeah,
Coach.
I mean, those are the two biggest recruiting pipelines that we have, as intern Rome sighs back there with at our Tempe or Texas to Tucson.
This guy's a fool.
And so Craig Nivar, I think it's a good move for this program. I just don't see it, necessarily. I always say moving mountains, if you will. I don't really think it has any impact on this team's win-loss record going into next season. But yeah, I mean, it is like a decent name, I would say, to get for Brent Brennan and co. I mean, this is a guy who's been coaching for 3 decades of college coaching experience and is well known in the business. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna sell it that it's a big deal, but I do think it's a good move, if that makes sense. And also, I'm happy with it. I will say it took forever, though. The fact that we're in March and we just hired our special teams coordinator is kind of insane.
It is kind of insane. Maybe some things got forgot there in the back, and they were going down the checklist and said, "Oh, we got to get one." No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that's how it went. But yeah, you are right. It's a little late in the process.
Just not like the biggest move to me. So I'm just gonna sell that. But getting into our next question, Kevin.
Next up, Henri Veesaar will average a double-double next season for Arizona. Damon, I'm selling. You're buying. Tell us why you're all in on Henri Veesaar.
I will, brother. Henri Veesaar is my king. I love this guy. But I guess, it's possible it's a little wishful thinking. We were talking about it a little bit off air, Kevin. But I think Tobe Awaka in what he does next season is going to be a big factor in this particular question. Because you look at Tobe Awaka, and I think, I wasn't really aware, I don't think. I thought maybe he was a senior. He is a junior. He has another year of eligibility. He may come back. I think Henri Veesaar needs to be given the keys to the starting center position, no matter what, going into next season, because you've seen the development in this season. I think the upside is just a little bit higher than it is with the Tobe Awaka. And this is an NBA guy that we're potentially talking about in Henri Veesaar. So I think he needs to be given the starting lineup spot. This is very dependent on whether or not you have a guy like Tobe Awaka taking up 20 plus minutes per game. But I'm just kind of assuming that he might not, being taken out of the starting lineup potentially might move on to a place where he's maybe more of the focal point. And if that's the case, and you have Emmanuel Stevens as your backup center, I think Henri Veesaar gets about 30 plus minutes a game. Kevin, I actually have a graphic that we made here. So if we could throw that up on screen. These are Henri Veesaar's per 36 stats this season. Only in conference play, I forgot to add into this graphic per 36. So he's averaging 17 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2.2 blocks, and has an effective field goal percentage of 64%. And Henri Veesaar, I think there's room for improvement there, right? Like 36 minutes per game is an average starter's minutes in college basketball. Kevin, I looked it up. It's 36.1 technically, but I did it per 36 minutes. If Henri Veesaar is playing what an average starter plays, he'll be somewhere around that double-digit rebound mark. It's really difficult to get to that double-digit rebound mark. I did some quick research. You have Azuolas Tubelis, who averaged 9.1 rebounds per game in his last season at Arizona. You have Oumar Ballo, who averaged 10.1 rebounds per game in his last season at Arizona. Christian Koloko only averaged 7.3 rebounds per game in his last season at Arizona. So, the big men in the Tommy Lloyd era haven't necessarily reached that mark, or if they did in Oumar Ballo's case, he barely did it, right? But I think this is very dependent on who else is in the front court with Henri next season. But I'm kind of assuming he's going to be given the reins, and with that, I'm buying.
I'm with you to an extent on that, Damon. And I went through at 3 a.m. in the morning last night, sat down on my couch, excuse me, and thought to myself, what am I exactly going to predict Henri Veesaar will average for points, rebounds, assists, field goal percent, free throw percent, and 3-point percent, Damon? I gave it all to this podcast last night at 3 in the morning, and this is what I came away with. And this is also why I'm selling Henri Veesaar averaging a double-double, because you alluded to it. It's hard to average a double-double in Arizona, and I think the way that Henri Veesaar plays, I don't really think that I don't think Henri Veesaar is exactly like Andre Drummond, where rebounding is everything to him. It's his pride and joy. It's what he takes most enjoyment with.
And I'm glad he's not.
I agree. I'm with you. I know I'm with you on that. But my point with all that is, I just don't see him.
Stinky basketball player.
I just don't see him. That's why he's one of the rainbow players, where you can take his jersey and make all the colors of the rainbow. But I was gonna say that I think Henri Veesaar, just the mentality that he plays with, lends itself to kind of that 7-8 rebound a game mark. I have him for 16.2 points. I have him for 8.7 rebounds, so almost 9.
This is your projection system?
This is my 3 a.m. on Kevin's couch projection system vibes.
This is your formula. You plugged it into your computer, and this is what the output was?
Me and my cocktail napkin, just getting it done. 3 assists exactly. So he's going to be like 3.1 assists, 3 point.
How did you calculate this?
Mental mass, man. And then 65% from the field.
What an insane exercise.
39.7% from 3. I think he's going to be almost 40% from 3 next season.
Okay.
And then 75% from the line.
He's shooting 40% from 3 in conference play this year.
I think he'll probably shoot a similar, like I have him in that 39.7 exactly, because I think he'll probably shoot a little bit higher of a volume, Damon. I think he'll shoot maybe a little bit higher of a volume, so you'll have a little bit more misses in there. I just don't think he averages 40% from 3 next season. And then obviously 75% from the line.
Brother, I need a study of your brain when you were projecting these, like just an insane exercise to go through.
Honestly, I was kind of very pleasantly surprised, because
16.2 points per game.
Because look at these stats again per 36. I'm really not far off. I didn't do the blocks. I wish. I don't know if you had those numbers still on your laptop off top of your head.
No.
Okay. You don't. But I would love to have seen.
What do you want? What do you want to know?
His assists, because I had him at 3.
I think it was 3.
That's my. I didn't use those calculations, but I think this is. Parker said you're a ball knower. I think this is my version of being a ball knower, Damon. Like I exactly guessed his per 36 just off vibes.
Yeah.
That's something.
And if he plays starter minutes next year, that's about what the minutes total and the averages would look like based off of this season. But Also, I just Tobe Awaka is averaging 8 rebounds per game, Kevin.
He's a beast.
He is, but
He's the
and he's a better rebounder than Henri Veesaar is. I'm not questioning that, but
correct.
you got to figure out a way to spread those rebounds out to other people. And I think that there's enough there for Henri Veesaar if he is truly given the reins of that position, that 5 spot. I think that he can kind of vacuum up a lot of those rebounds that Tobe Awaka has been getting this season. And that could, maybe he doesn't get double digits. Maybe it's wishful thinking because I just love my guy Henri Veesaar so much because he's my king. Yeah, 100%. But that being said, I believe in my guy's upside here. And just an interesting little talking point we can take into next season, Kevin. Will Henri Veesaar average a double-double? Who knows?
Will my exact projections be correct? Who knows?
Damon believes. If they are,
hey, if he averages 16.2 next season, if he averages any of those numbers, any of those exact numbers, 3.1 assists, 8.7
or
boards,
all of them,
or 16 point. No, I'm saying any of them at all, I'm taking a W. I don't care. If he averages all 3, I'm buying a lottery ticket, man. Like, that's what I'm doing. But our last buy or sell question for the day, Damon, is Kansas a must win?
You're selling. I'll let you start.
I talked about this on our last show, and I was almost swayed by the ASU game because part of my math there was that you kick ASU's butt, going straight into Kansas. Fact, belt to ass against ASU is what is what I would have wanted to see, but I didn't see it, and so I am closer to. I was close to switching this to buy, but I still feel like the Big 12 tournament is the must. Like, I don't think you got to win it, but you must play well in the Big 12 tournament. I think going on the road to Fog Allen against Kansas, this is a Kansas team that, recently lost to Houston on the road.
Good game, by the way.
A great game. They've been up and down all season, but they're coming off of 2 straight losses to 2 of the best teams in the conference. Now they're playing Arizona. Now talk about a stretch to end the season. Texas Tech at home, Houston on the road, Arizona at home. That is a murderer's row of 3 teams right there. And I think that if you're Kansas, this is kind of a situation that Arizona faced with Iowa State in a way. In fact, it's the exact same situation almost that Arizona faced when they went on the road to Iowa State. Iowa State coming off of 2 straight losses, maybe a loss that they wish they had back. I'm not saying that losing to Houston is the same as losing to Oklahoma State. I'd be insane to say that. But I'm saying in a game that close, I think if you're Kansas, there are definitely things that you would love to have back in that one. So I think if we said this was a must win for Arizona, I think we're setting our expectations too high just for the spot that the game is in, right? Kansas coming off those 2 tough losses, Arizona kind of up and down as well in their play. It's not like Arizona's been playing lights out. They've been just as up and down as Kansas has been recently. If you look at their Ken Palm stripes, the tinsel on the Christmas tree, as we like to call it. Damon, I think that this is not a must win. You'd love to have it, but if Arizona loses this game, I'm not going to be apoplectic unless it looks awful.
Yeah, I think Kansas fans are probably having the same exact conversation that Arizona fans are having if this is a must win, right? Because they're, as you mentioned, in a fairly similar spot. Arizona in the last 7 games, as we mentioned, is what were they, 3-4? Yeah, and Kansas is 3-5 in their last 8. So very similar positions. I think Kansas has maybe looked a little bit worse doing it than Arizona has in that same time period, but lots of the same teams played as well. I mean, here's the thing about Kansas's W's in that time frame: 2 wins against Colorado, 1 against Oklahoma State. So they're not beating even decent teams in the conference. They're beating the bottom feeders of the Big 12 in this run. So there's not a whole lot to be confident in there, but I do think that this is a must win for Arizona because I think that this is a complete momentum killer or driver heading into the final stretch of this season. If Arizona loses this one, and it does matter how they look, Kevin, but if they lose this one, I could see that being just crushing to this team and their mentality. And I could see it kind of being the thing that, takes the wheels off, as I already mentioned earlier on the show, using the same, phrases now. But
taking the wheel off of the horse.
The wagon that the horse is carrying, damn it. But
I'm in the carriage of the wagon that's being carried by a horse that is Caleb Love.
Yes. But I think I just think that they have to win this game because Kansas is reeling right now. They're not playing good basketball. If Kansas loses this game, they're 10-10 in conference, Kevin. They are 500 in conference. They are not playing good basketball. I know it's on the road, but teams have beaten Kansas on the road. Good teams in particular, like Houston did. Actually, that game was at Houston.
Houston, West Virginia.
Like Texas Tech did.
And Texas Tech. Those are the 3 big home losses.
Yeah. I think Arizona has to kind of be in that group if they want to show that they're a serious team and that they can win games against big opponents. Like, I think this would fill me with a lot of confidence if they could beat this Kansas team, no matter what happens in the Big 12 tournament, because at least I know that they're going to show up when they play a big team if it gets to that point. And yeah, I think that you have to win this game just to salvage some confidence and salvage some momentum going into this final stretch run. But yeah, as I mentioned, I'm sure Kansas fans feel the exact same way about their situation. They feel like they have to beat Arizona at home, despite Arizona being a good team to win this game. So yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited. Arizona hasn't played at Kansas in a long time, Kevin, there was, I believe, I could be wrong. It might be the last time we've played there was in that 04 season. And Arizona took down Kansas on the road there, which was lots of fun. So hopefully we see a little bit more in the same, and we could say we own Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
Sorry, I was trying to find that for you, Damon. I was trying to look up the history of the matchup here. The last time these two teams played was in Vegas in 2011, where Arizona lost 87-79, and then they played in 2008. They played in December of 2008 in Tucson.
I don't really care about the neutral site games, just because I think that those are preseason tournaments. Oftentimes, you got one in Lahaina because it was in the Maui Invitational. So I think you got to go back to these games in Tucson or in Lawrence.
Yeah,
Arizona
07-08.
Yeah, Arizona beats beats Kansas at home in Tucson in 08-09, loses on the road by 4 in Lawrence in 07-08, and then the season that I was referencing beats them in Lawrence in 02-03 there, and in what was just an electric game. Kevin, this game, my parents were actually at this game, I remember, because they left me with my grandparents as they traveled to Lawrence, Kansas for this one. Kansas gets out to a 52-39 first half lead. Arizona wins 91-74. Think about that, Kevin. Think about that for a second. Kansas is up 52-39 in the first half. At home.
Yes.
Prime Kansas.
Yes.
And Arizona wins 91-74. Kansas scored.
Divisions.
Arizona's held Kansas to 22 points in the second half. Won the second half 52-22.
Need it. Need that. Need it injected into my
How
veins.
insane is that?
It is insane. I hope Arizona doesn't need that kind of miraculous second half to beat Kansas this time around. But it would be incredible.
Might be the best second half of basketball in the history of this basketball program. That is unbelievable.
That'd be a fun offseason segment, Damon.
Could you imagine being in the crowd like my parents were for that one?
No.
You're like, damn, we're down 13 at half. Can't believe we went out to Lawrence, Kansas for this crap. And then all of a sudden you're watching the second half and you're like, whoa, what is even going on? These guys look like the Warriors.
Before the Warriors even existed.
Talking about the Warriors 15 years before they existed. But yeah, I mean, that would have been
parents
unbelievable.
are time travelers.
That would have been unbelievable. Hopefully we get more in the same here. Hopefully not down at half, but just dominant performance, especially in the second half. That would make a lot of Arizona fans feel happy and feel good going into the Big 12 conference tournament, Kevin. Arizona locks up top 4 seed, which means that they will go through to the third round of the conference tournament, which is a big deal. And yeah, I mean, it means you only got to win 3 games to win the whole thing. Yeah. So should Arizona sets itself up well by taking care of business early in the season in particular. Hasn't been a great stretch recently, but still time to figure it out, Kevin. And we're going to be keeping track of it and keeping you locked and loaded with your premier Arizona Wildcats coverage all the way through. Anything else before we get out of here?
No, this was a fun one, Damon. I think you and I both last night were pretty tired after the post game. Just a lot of good vibes after the W, but also a lot of mixed feelings there as well. And it felt good to wake up and get on the live show today and just kind of talk it up, kind of reflect a little bit, talk expectations, try to get this fog out of my brain. It's been a fun one, Damon. I needed this today.
I agree with you with the show perspective, but I'll tell you what I don't agree with. Not as I yawn, as I fight a yawn. No, did not feel good to wake up. Did not feel good to wake up. I probably could still be in bed right now if if I had my choice of things. But
Oh, me too, man.
hey, man, we
Me
got to
too.
talk to the people. I got to talk to you, my guy Kevin, and 183 of our closest friends in the entire world. Thank you for watching the AZ Wildcats podcast. We will be back on a Friday at 12 p.m. our normal time. We'll see if maybe Kevin, maybe we can see if we can get a guest for Friday's show. We will find out. But until then, this peace out from us. I am at Damon Dog on Twitter. Give me a follow. It's DAWG. My guy Kevin is at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. Give him a follow for his birthday. Kevin, how do you feel being an old man this morning?
I mean, my joints feel rusty. I feel like I need some
24?
I need some WD-40 in my,
24?
in my knees. I mean, yeah, man, I'm about
Gross.
about halfway to the grave at this point,
That's
man.
nasty, dude.
Who knows?
Almost as old as me.
I know, dude. I mean, if I'm halfway in the grave, you're 3/4. You know what I mean? It's tough, man. You're working out every day. I'm not, so I'm feeling my age. You're not feeling your age. We're just a couple of old geezers on this podcast, just remembering the good old days of last month when Arizona was a top contender.
I remember when we first joined on this podcast, the criticism was, who are these old fellas you guys got on to do this podcast?
Yeah, why would you get two guys that are about to die on the pod? I mean, you're gonna have to recast this in a couple months.
Definitely not. Who are these high school kids with facial hair?
Yeah, if someone thought I was actually a high schooler, I'm only a high schooler like on a CW original television show.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, who's the new freshman? It's just me walking in
Out
with
there
my
running
beard,
routes.
just like, what's up, y'all? It's Kevin, the freshman.
You play O-line at the high school for the high school football
I play
team.
QB and I throw like this.
Yeah, despite being nowhere near like offensive lineman size, they'd grab you.
I'm high school lineman size for sure.
Not on a good team.
Well, no, most high school teams are not good.
No, but most high school teams that they do TV shows of are good.
Fair and valid. Fair and valid.
And they'd be like,
valid.
this guy's a stud. He's going to like LSU or something.
Dude, that guy got an offer from
You'd be
Alabama.
like, I'm like 6 feet tall.
Like 6 foot, 200 something. I don't think y'all want me playing line nowhere.
And you'd be the comedic relief, Kevin. I think that'd be a good role.
I would love that. I would love to make fun of the quarterback when, something bad happens to him or I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of those shows, Damon, to be honest with you. I don't
Little
really
All-American? You're not in on that?
Never seen it. Never seen
Hilarious show. Hilarious.
Isn't it supposed to be like not funny? It's not supposed to be funny, right?
No.
I thought it was like a drama.
It is.
But that means it's bad.
There are times where it's cringe for sure.
If it's a drama and
Spencer
not a dramedy
James,
and you think it's funny, then
Spencer
it's bad.
James, he's a big like, I'm not mad, I'm angry. That's a big thing. People make fun of it online for. Hilarious. Just so good. But we got to get out of here. We'll talk about this off air, Kevin.
Yeah.
Give us a follow at PHNX_Wildcats. If you stuck through this long, you might as well, and you're not following. I don't know what you're doing. Subscribe to this channel. Thank you for chilling with us for 90 minutes here on a Wednesday, a Victory Wednesday edition of the PHNX Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats!
We all silly like the mayor.